many years. And it's an ask for this budget, and it's going to likely be an ask for the next budget, because I don't think we're going to be able to realize those savings. So, I want to prepare the public, and for the record, I'm voting for staff's recommendation of the smoothing of the levy relief strategy, realizing full well that you are looking at tax raises and service level reductions for the next several years.
Councillor Columbus, we can't keep going around and around debating this. I think we've debated it to death. So unless somebody else has something they want to put on the floor, that's a deferral motion or not, put your hand up. Councillor Taylor, I see you had your hand up.
Yes, at this point, I think the only new thing that could be added to this discussion is a more fulsome voice from the public. And the only way I think we can get that is to defer this today. Let that be putting the reformer in on the radio in a new manner of this is actually going to be a 7.7% to the resident, 8.8 and all that. So with that, I think I will move to defer strictly this item to next week, still approving the rest of the budget, not bringing those items back up, but strictly this item till next week. So it'll allow all of us an opportunity to hear more fulsomely from the community at large.
Okay, is there a seconder for that deferral till next week? Councillor Columbus, second the deferral to next week? All right, Andy, if we could have a recorded vote on this, would be a deferral to get further public input before the meeting next week. Councillor Van Passen?
Just ask yourself, should we not defer item number 55 along with this?
I have that covered in the draft wording if it assists. That resolutions number 50 and number 55 be deferred to a special council meeting on February 2nd, 2012 for only the discussion of borrowing from the Legacy Fund and associated options only.
All right. Does somebody wish to have a recorded vote or? Okay. All those in favor? And it appears that is carried unanimously. So we will revisit this. It will be our public hearings committee meeting. Andy, you'll call a special council meeting at that time?
Yes, both agendas are pretty light, so it'll be a shorter evening than tonight. And if we could just get a motion to approve the balance of the minutes.
Okay. You heard the clerk. Somebody move that. Councillor Taylor, seconded by Councillor Michelli. All those in favor? That's carried. And again, just for clarity, this is not opening the budget back up. This is the sole item that we are coming back for discussion next week with staff. With that, I'm going to say let's take a 15-minute break. Unless there's any further motions there, Andy, that you need at this point before we go into the rest of the non-budgetary council items?
No, we're all good, Mayor Chop. Thank you.
Okay, perfect. So 8:15, everyone, does that work? Perfect. I'll see you then. All right, are we all ready to get started again? I think everybody's here. Moving on then. I guess the first one is the staff report verbal discussion regarding parking in downtown Simcoe. And I guess, Andy, are you going to present that? I can just, I asked staff, I touched base, I believe Councillor Rabbits, I copied you on the email too, and Councillor Taylor, and asked you to reach out to the BIA for comment. We did have several complaints from one of our business owners that I know is struggling in the pandemic, that has had some parking tickets placed on their vehicle during all of this. Kaylee's actually within minutes of parking to unload from catering gigs, and that troubles me deeply. It's one of my concerns with bylaw that right now, sitting in a pandemic, and I think we do have bigger focuses than kind of going after some of our business owners that obviously are struggling as well. So I thought maybe what we could look at, and ask Andy if he could bring something forward for council, I didn't think there'd be any objection, would be to do what we did in Port Dover. So we could designate some 15-minute parking spots, just so that the businesses like Kaylee's, I know we had, I can't think of his name now. Councillor Taylor, you might be able to help me, from the pizza shop. I know he had the similar problems with his delivery guys as well at one point in time. So this would maybe help address that problem. So Andy, if you wanted to present your report.
Thank you, Mayor Chop. Sorry, I did it wrong. Thank you, Mayor Chop. Yeah, so one of the things, certainly I haven't had an opportunity yet to talk with Mr. Burgess and Mr. Godby about what approach they would like to take for this year. Certainly I do know there was a number of implementation issues around the Port Dover one, and whatever we do, we want to make it a bit smoother. A lot of jurisdictions that do this, well, a lot of jurisdictions that get involved in things like this are just giving free parking, and since we already have free parking, we're already kind of halfway there. So a lot of bigger municipalities have done that to incentivize people. Other areas have just made posters available and essentially told bylaw officers not to charge where they're up. So I think there is some potential common sense approaches that we could do, but I certainly want the CAOs and Mr. Godby's opinion on those, but we can bring forward options in the short term for council to consider for sure.
Yeah, through the chair, Mr. Grizel's correct. One of the challenges with the whole Port Dover situation was our sign supplier, because of COVID, was very much delayed in actually providing signs that we could use. I think there are measures we can do. We can also provide some guidance to to bylaw, and move to an enforcement standard that might be slightly different, especially during off-peak seasons, on some of these items, and instead of ticketing right away, move to it. But I think the advantage of the 15-minute parking is designed for residents to do curbside pickup or for businesses to get in and out quickly, and they always have a spot, because what we've been finding in Port Dover and finding in Simcoe, there are certain areas where staff members that work in businesses take up the parking, and you don't have those in and outs. And then Mr. Godby, if he's still on the line, there are issues with where we can place those, because there are safety considerations that Public Works looks for, so that the entry into those 15-minute parking spaces and the exits out are in lower risk spots for traffic accidents. So what we can do is maybe take like a quick response to it, put some posters up, notify bylaw not to enforce on those spots, and then we can look for a more permanent solution later on. Mr. Grizel is going to lead a parking study in a few areas, not as expansive as we were going to do with paid parking, but he can clean up. He's noted a whole bunch of issues with our signage and a whole bunch of other things that we need to clean up next year. and we can do that. So I think council wants some immediate action, and we can look to do something immediate with some posters and signage. And Mr. Godby can give us direction on where to put those, and then we can move to a more permanent solution for council and Simcoe in the coming months.
Councilor Martin.
Thank you, Mayor Chop. Andy will be very well aware of the Port Dover issue, but my suggestion would be to have council members work in concert with the BIA and do some polling. That was the best end result for Port Dover once the businesses were actually polled on a specific position. But I just wanted to note that I think we all received it, but if not, I've been having discussions with the new owners of Sabre Espresso. They're on the same page. And the only other thing that I would just like to bring up, and unfortunately Councillor Huffman's not here, she just received a call today, and she told me before we started that a business owner was in Port Dover and had asked about the signs. And so I think there are some Waterford business owners who have expressed interest on this, and I'm sure Councillor Huffman would have spoken to it if she was still here.
Councillor Taylor, go ahead.
Thank you. I know that the BIA would be happy to facilitate in any way that they can. I know there are definitely some businesses looking for that 15-minute parking space that just thinking of some of the ones that have talked to me about it, they aren't necessarily in the safest spot. So I'm wondering how we could accommodate those situations. That when you're talking the in and out easily, how would like Norfolk Street be able to accommodate that, where it is one of the busiest streets? Would it just be sort of like the end spots at the street? Is that what generally would happen?
Yeah, Mr. Godby can comment on that more, but yes, it's usually the first and the end spots in a row of parking to allow for that. So, that was one of the challenges with when we discussed with Port Dover businesses. Someone wanted it right out front of their door, but that wasn't possible for safety reasons, and we had to kind of put them on the end streets. But I see Mr. Godby is there, so he can provide greater comment on that.
Jason, go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Through you to council, just on this topic in general. Yes, things did work well when we were able to engage with the Port Dover Board of Trade. I'm very pleased to hear Councillor Taylor's suggestion that the BIA could also assist with this. It will take some of that consultation to know where best the need is. And then that's when we look at the technical merits of it. Typically, what you're looking at is areas that are provide an easy in or out. Most don't provide both. So that's why, downtown Simcoe may be a challenge with that regard. However, we will look at all options that are available and look forward to having some discussions with the BIA on how we could move this forward quickly.
So Andy, what kind of motion would you like right now then? Oh, sorry, Councillor Rabbits, I didn't see your hand. But if you could think about that while Councillor Rabbits is speaking of just how to expedite this as quickly as possible, because I can't stomach seeing our business owners that are struggling getting parking tickets downtown for unloading their vehicles. You're on mute again.
Thank you, Mayor Chop. And through you, that is a good segue to my commentary. Apologize, my mic was off yet again. That's some of the concerns that I wanted to articulate. I was made aware of the ticketing to Kaylee's restaurant and all cards on the table. She was actually providing a catering service to Taiyu during one of those offloading events, and so I saw that it was appropriately escalated to staff, and I didn't have much more of an ability to escalate the concern or direct bylaw, as we don't have that ability as counselors, and I didn't want to overreach, but I would hope that we aren't targeting for enforcement necessarily those that are providing food services, whether they be loading a van or providing contactless carry out or different curbside pickup options, right? So, that's just a general statement. And I don't believe our bylaw officers are doing that. I also want to say, it's probably hard to discern necessarily one vehicle from another one until the complaint comes in. So I am happy to hear from our CAO and staff that they're looking at potentially slowing maybe slowing the pace on that for certain circumstances, such as maybe outside of a restaurant, right? I've got a lot of correspondence about times for curbside pickup. They've varied in range from 5 minutes, which I think is incredibly short, to 15 or more. And, my concern is our ability to enforce this. And immediately my brain went to, are we going to have a bylaw officer there every 5 minutes? Or 15 minutes, or what would enforcement reasonably look like, or what could business owners expect were they to make that phone call? And we've just had a lengthy bylaw discussion this evening, but I want some commentary back about enforceability of it. Why create a 15-minute loading zone that's not going to be abided by? They're not following the rules as it is. There's people parked there night and day, and we're having a difficult time enforcing that and tracking and recording that. So to me, it adds another variable to the mix that I want to make sure is accounted for, and I want to make sure the businesses are heard. I've had business owners complaining about each other and their parking habits, so it's hard for me as a leader of that community to try to provide the service that's best for all. And not be distracted by maybe the loud voices of a few, right, as they're juxtaposed to one another. So if I could have staff just comment back on the enforceability of a 15-minute rule, and maybe when we could expect a report to come back to council, because again, we should have some time for consultation, and we have that ability. We just need to budget the time for it.
Well, the one thing I just want to add, just before I turn it over to staff, Councilor Rabbits, we are doing it in Port Dover. It's not reinventing the wheel. And I think there also is, you get ticketed a couple times, some people, and people start, you're not going to be able to patrol it every 5 minutes, but it's kind of like the COVID rules as well. There's a certain amount of common courtesy. Most of these rules we can't enforce, right? They're guidelines from the province. Please don't do this and please don't do that. So I think the bigger piece is at least we know that the people that do use it aren't going to get a ticket. But
yeah, I think from an enforcement point of view, I think when the signage is up there, I think most people understand that 15-minute parking is for that purpose, and if they're not there for that quick pickup and exit purpose, they'd look for another parking spot. And it is slightly easier to enforce if you think about 2-hour parking, which we do enforce and we do write tickets for. Staff have to mark the car and then come back in 2 hours. It doesn't take long on a 15-minute parking spot. A bylaw officer can just stand on the street and observe it, walk down the street and observe it, and come back and quickly ticket it. So the 15 minutes actually a little easier for a bylaw to enforce. But I think it's more important for citizens to recognize that 15-minute parking is helping their local businesses execute the business that they want to do, which is that quick curbside. And I do believe that people most times just try to do the right thing, and if they're presented with a 15-minute parking spot, they'll only use it for the 15 minutes. And it just helps the business owners too if they have a place to park quickly instead of trying to double park. It's easier for them just to slip into a 15-minute one, do their load and offload, and then exit, then exit to a parking lot or someplace else. But in Port Dover, one of the issues that was raised by the business owners was around staff parking taking up spots. And talking to some of the Simcoe business owners, they've made the exact same comment. So the 15-minute ones just really stop that from happening, stops the guy from sitting there for 6 hours in a parking spot.
okay, so is there a timeline, Andy, since we want to move this along, how you could craft a motion? Sounds like there's pretty strong support here, and we can further discuss this once the report comes back. It's getting late.
Yeah, so my advice to council would be, if you want to expedite this, as quickly as possible. Just let staff not bring a formal report back. Let us bring a bylaw back, setting up the enforcement provisions, and give us that direction, because that will allow Jason Godby or Public Works to go out and measure where these specific spots are, and then we won't have to spend time writing a report. We can just bring forward a bylaw for council to consider.
And do you need 2 weeks for that? Or are you able to bring that back at the next special council, or do you need a few weeks?
I think it probably would be the February council meeting. Yeah.
Okay, Councillor Taylor, you want to move that?
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say. I swear.
Seconder? Is there a seconder for the motion? Councillor Martin? Okay, go ahead.
I just would ask that staff not restricted to just Simcoe or have a conversation with Councillor Huffman, please.
Well, my only thing is just in terms of, I guess you've got a little bit more time with the council meeting. That's fine. Councillor Michelle, you might want to decide on Port Rowan, but the concerns were raised immediately. I think just in terms of allocating it, we'll do Simcoe and then tackle Waterford next. But with enough time, if you guys have enough time for the next meeting, since you have 3 weeks to the next council meeting, does that work?
We're volunteering Godby, and
does he have time for both towns between?
I would. Yeah, we'd have to bring separate bylaws. So what I'll promise the council is we'll prioritize Simcoe because that's where the complaint was, and then we'll add other ones on in order that we get them done. So we'll do Waterford and then Port Rowan, because I think I hear a lot of businesses asking for this, so it does make some sense.
Councillor Martin, is that okay? Okay. Any further discussion? Call the vote then. All those in favor? And that's carried unanimously. Moving on, now there are no motions on the floor. There is a notice of motion from Councillor Van Passen regarding a Hastings Drive litigation matter. Councillor Van Passen.
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. Had some debate with the clerk on this. The Hastings Drive situation will be in court on Friday, and I have asked before for an update from our solicitor, and the clerk considers this to be a motion to reconsider. So what I would be asking for is a two-thirds majority to waive the procedural bylaw, that we can deal with a notice of motion as a motion and then deal with it as a motion to reconsider and do it all immediately so that we could actually get an update from our solicitor today.
Okay, and then are you also moving then are we going to do part in open session, part in closed session? Is this all in open session?
Well, first we have to get through step one. And okay. I do believe it would be a closed session item for client solicitor privilege.
Okay, Councillor Michelle, go ahead. Are you seconding that motion?
I am, Madam Mayor.
Okay, is there any further discussion from council members?
So there'd be a motion to waive the procedural bylaw first?
Yeah, motion to waive the procedural rules of order so that we can allow Paula to make a presentation on the court case that is coming, I guess, for this Friday. I believe it's happening on the 29th. Any further discussion again from councillors? All those in favor? And that is carried unanimously. I think then what we'll do, Andy, if this works and if it's amenable to council, is we will move in. I'll have you read it out there, Andy. I don't have it before me, the terms for closed session if Paul is available.
Mayor Chap, we just need to actually pass the reconsideration first to reopen the matter. We did the procedural waiver there.
My apologies. Okay. So Councillor Martin, go ahead.
My apologies if I'm a little bit slow. Why can't we just have an update? Why do we have to reconsider a motion to have an update?
We wondered the same thing. Was the Councillor Van Passen, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Mayor. That would be the debate that I was having with the clerk. We, in September, gave direction to our solicitor. She was unable to achieve that direction. So I also question why we need to reconsider it. We need to give her new direction because she was unable to attain that. And in order to give new direction, we need to be updated on the status of it. But if the clerk decides we need a reconsideration, let's go vote on the reconsideration and move this on, because again, it's coming before the judge on Friday. This is our sort of last chance to possibly redirect our solicitor.
Okay, any further debate? All those in favor? And that's carried unanimously as well. So then, Andy, what I would like to do, obviously we just have the bylaws that are remaining, so we'll proceed to move into closed session, but for both items, for the Hastings Drive matter, as well as the county solicitor memo with the investigation update. And then we'll pass the bylaws. Nothing of it, I don't, well, obviously, whatever we pass in closed session, we'll come out to open session, vote on those, and we'll pass the bylaws at that time. And then that will be the end of the meeting.
Mayor, can I just ask a question?
Absolutely.
If there are no questions on the two bylaws, the water and wastewater bill one and the user fee charges one, if we don't anticipate any questions, I would like to release staff so that they can go about and do something better with their lives at 8:36. If there are anticipated questions, then if we just know them, I know who to keep because I have a lot of staff on hand.
Any questions from councilors on either of those items? Councilor Columbus, don't worry about excusing yourself right now or anything. Any questions? So we'll be able to just pass those when we come back. I think staff is good to go home. Thank you very much to everyone. 4 long days of budget. I think this is, yeah, the longest budget deliberation we've had. So thank you to everyone. And I think it's been a tough year. I guess we're not quite out of the woods yet. And so we'll do a wrap up next week when we figure out what the final number is going to look like. Andy, are you able to read the motion to go into closed session? I just don't have it before me.
Of course, sorry, I just had it here and I lost it. Just one second. So we're going into closed session to hear the county solicitor memo, RE investigation update, and then the added update on the Hastings Drive matter reconsideration pursuant to section 239 2B, E, and F of the Municipal Act 2001 as amended, as the subject matter pertains to personal matters about an identifiable individual, including municipal or local board employees, litigation or potential litigation, including matters before administrative tribunals affecting the municipality or local board, and advice that is subject to solicitor-client privilege, including communications for that purpose.
Mover and a seconder. Councilor Rabbit, seconded by Councilor Van Passen. All those in favor? And that's carried. And Andy, are you sending us another link then right now?
Sorry, I haven't,
Oh.
I thought I might have sent it before. Let me just,
Well, that's possible. I just haven't seen it. I haven't had my
oh, sorry,
email
I
open.
forgot to. Here it is. It should arrive right now.
Okay, very good. So I'll go to this call. In terms of the public, again, we'll be looking just to report back on, we'll be passing the 2 bylaws. Nothing interesting anticipated there. There could be 2 motions coming out of closed session, likely direction to staff at that point. So probably about a half an hour.
right, we are live. Mayor Chop, can you hear me?
Can't hear you.
Okay. Oh, can't? No? Oh.
Mute.
Oh, nice to see you.
Hmm?
Thank you. I'm here.
Hello. All right, can everybody hear me now? Okay, we're good to go.
Can you just reel them off there, Andy? The, I guess the two, items from closed session, and then, so the first motion is in regards to, Hastings Drive, and was the reconsideration motion that we had in the first place. Did you want to read that for council?
Sure, yeah, if we could just get a motion to resume in open.
Oh, sorry, resume and open, sorry, so tired. Councilor Martin, thank you, and Councilor Michelli, all those in favor? That's carried.
All right, and the first one is that council approve the direction provided to the county solicitor in closed session as outlined in the memo presented on September 22nd, 2010, respecting the Hastings Drive litigation matter.
Did you want to do, I don't know, do you want to do a recorded vote on these, or?
Sure. Are we good to go for the recorded vote? Oh,
Councilor Michelli, you got a question, sir? Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just for clarity, Mr. Griselle, did you say the 2010?
oh, sorry, if I did, I must be pretty tired. It was September 22nd, 2020. Sorry.
Thank you.
All right, so Councilor Rabbits,
Yes.
Councilor Columbus,
Yes.
Councilor Martin,
Yes.
Councilor Van Passen,
Yes.
Councilor Huffman isn't here, Councilor Michelli,
Yes.
Councilor Taylor,
Yes.
and Mayor Chop.
No.
All right, and so then the next motion that we had, I believe Councilor Van Passen, you wanted to move that council direct planning staff to prepare a report to look into amending the zoning bylaw to allow recreation vehicles on Hastings Drive?
No, to allow for overnight camping on Hastings Drive.
Okay. And is there a seconder?
Councilor Martin.
Sorry. And if there's no discussion, I can do a recorded vote. All right, Councilor Rabbits,
Yes.
Councilor Columbus,
No.
Councilor Martin,
Yes.
Councilor Van Passen,
Yes.
Councilor Michelli,
Yes.
Councilor Taylor,
Yes.
Mayor Chop.
Yes.
The motion carries. And then the last motion is that the...
Can't wait for the emails to start on this one.
And then the last motion is that the information memo from the county solicitor be received as information.
Mover and a seconder, please. Councilor Taylor, seconded by Councilor Rabbits. Further discussion, Tom, or Councilor Michelli? Again, my apologies. All those in favor? And that is carried unanimously. And then just the bylaws, Andy?
Yes, that bylaw 2021-11 and 2021-12 be approved, signed by the mayor and clerk, and affixed with the corporate seal.
Moved by Councilor Martin, seconded by Councilor Rabbits. All those in favor? And that's carried. Counselor Columbus, you gonna vote on the final two bylaws with us? Next bylaw?
A conflict on that, right?
Oh, conflict.
Oh, my apologies, sir, my apologies. We're done that one. My apologies.
Okay, and then the last one is the confirming bylaw, 2021-13.
Oh, you did the two of them together. Okay. Mover and a seconder? Counselor Columbus, seconded by Counselor Taylor. All those in favor? And that is carried unanimously. And finally, a motion to adjourn. Counselor Taylor, seconded by Counselor Michelli. All those in favor? That's carried. Thanks, everyone. Have a great night. I know we skipped over the general announcements. It's pretty late here. We'll see you back again next Tuesday. We'll have a little bit more time.
Take care, everyone. See you
Thanks.
later.
Have a good night.
Thank you.
Good night, all.
Be well. Stay safe.